Hi, it's your coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to my latest Practice Power blog. Hey, let's continue our conversation about the DNA of top producers, or the critical factors that all advisors need to be aware of in order to maximize their success. Hey, let's continue on with part 3 today, and let's get started off with marker number 7. So the first thing you'll see is let's have a written business development plan. Now, if you've done our Practice Power business planning builder, you know that this is module number 8. This is where we determine how we're going to drive both revenue and new clients into our business. So what are some of the elements, if you will, of a great written business development game plan or marketing plan? I've always believed in the concept or principles of what I call marketing legs or marketing pillars. And when I say marketing and slash business development, I really mean the same thing. So I want you to picture your practice, your business, as a tabletop, okay? And under the table, we're going to have different business development legs. So we're going to have a referral leg, right? We're going to have a optimization leg. We're going to have a branding, communication, drip, social media leg, right? And then we're also going to have maybe you do centers of influence, maybe you do networking, maybe you do seminars, maybe you do direct mail, maybe you do telemarketing. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. But let me say this. See, I see a common fault or a common mistake a lot of advisors make, which there's the concept of the more the better. And the reality is, unless you've got a huge team and a lot of infrastructure, very few advisors or even smaller advisory teams can execute a ton of different marketing legs. So let's go over a couple of my favorites, what I call the core, right? So these are the, if you will, the 3 that you're always going to have, no matter, I don't care if you're a wirehouse, independent, RA, insurance-centered, it really doesn't matter. We're always going to have these cores. So the first and foremost is referrals and introductions. And we have a whole e-learning on Practice Power, but it never ceases to amaze me how like a third rail type topic this is, referrals and introductions. Whenever I go out and speak, and I'll be going to Dallas, Texas in a few days, I'll ask this question: what's the best way for every advisor to grow their business? And I'll always get back the same answer, which is referrals. So great. Then what percentage of your time, effort, energy, budget, awareness do you put towards maximizing, optimizing that process? And usually there's a bunch of blank stares in the room. Now, why is that? Because reality is referral / introduction gathering, and by the way, they mean the same thing. I know sometimes some consultants play the word, but in essence, they're the same thing. Is not about budgets. It's not about letters or terminology. It's about psychology. It's about the advisor's belief set on the following. Do I deserve a referral? Am I good enough? Am I willing to get a little uncomfortable and have a conversation? So in other words, it's all psychology based, not checkbook based. See, our industry is notorious for trying to solve our problems / challenges by cutting a check, right? Well, let's go get this marketing system and this referral system and this seminar system and this online system, and let's just stroke a check. Because it sounds good and solve our problems, and reality is 9 out of 10 times it does not solve anything other than a smaller bank account. So we want to drive referrals, and we have a whole slew of ideas and strategies inside of Practice Power in the Business Development Center, so you can go take a look at that. So that's marketing leg number 1. Business development leg number 2 is the principle of optimization. So what does the principle of optimization mean? It basically means this, that our goal, no matter what, is to optimize each client relationship. Keyword each, and then optimize. So what does it mean? Again, depending on your business model, but I'm just going to talk globally here for a second, it's going to mean we have all the assets. Ideally, we have it fee-based. We have a financial plan. We either directly or indirectly control any of their insurance needs, any of their lending needs. So in other words, we optimize the different needs of our clients, and then also from a business perspective, we optimize our revenue stream. Remember something, that the biggest cost any advisor has, the biggest cost, is serving a household because it takes your time. There's touch base calls, there's reviews, there are preps for reviews, there are client service calls, they call in, they need things. Obviously this time of year, taxes, then right? So there's a real cost and a real limit unless you keep adding team members to how many households you can take on. So we're always going to want to, in essence, go ahead and look to optimize the revenue flow from that. Now, I know some of you sitting there saying, okay, Joe, sounds really cool. How do you do it? There's two core strategies, and then, I won't get into it too much here because there's an e-learning on it. But basically, your review process is the most powerful optimization process you have if, and that's the key word here, if done properly. So you want reviews to be really business development opportunities, and then obviously if you do any kind of events, whether you do social security events, estate planning events, insurance events, things like that, you can also go ahead and create some opportunities that way for optimization. Okay, but really the reviews, when done with expertise, is going to be your best way. Now the third core one is going to be our online strategy. So that also includes our newsletter. So what's our branding? What's our drip? What's our awareness campaign? All those things. And it still shocks me to this day how many advisors have either no or a crappy website. How can you be in business in the 21st century, in 2015 no less, and have a substandard or missing website? It's amazing to me how many advisors are like that. Now why? Because you just don't think of it, you don't think it's a big deal. But here's the reality of human behavior in the 21st century. If I'm a client of yours and I refer you to my best friend, their first stop is going to be what? Google. And they're going to put your name in and they're going to look for you. They're going to look at your LinkedIn profile. They're going to hopefully find your website. And if it doesn't resonate, if it's missing, if it doesn't have photos, if it's lacking, it's like you're not real. And it creates a problem. Years ago, and a lot of you remember this, years ago, first impressions were what? When we first met somebody, when they came into our office, right? That was our, in essence, first impression. Today, that's no longer true. The first impression today is the website, your LinkedIn profile. Those are the things that drive us. So we've got to make sure that we're updated. So that's the third element. Then obviously have an online or electronic newsletter, blog, whatever, again, your compliance will allow you to do. And obviously we can't get into it here. But those are the three elements. And then obviously you want to break that down to a monthly process, and if possible, even getting it down to a daily process. If you use our monthly game plan builder, there's a whole section there under business development / marketing for your monthly deliverables. So that's market number 7, a very well thought out business development game plan. Let's talk about marker number 8. Now, for those of you who are always conspiracy theorists, right? I know this sounds very self-serving, and let me say, yeah, there's a part of it that it is, but let's be very clear. Here's a really interesting part I find. Now, I have been coaching for 23 years, specifically in this industry. I was probably one of the first 4 or 5 coaches that really kind of created this whole industry around coaching advisors. And in my 23 years, it's been interesting. It's been an interesting ride from trying to explain what I did and tell them it wasn't a sport to now literally every person, every outsourced or laid off sales manager, branch manager, so on and so forth, now has hung their coaching shingle out and so on. But here's the interesting part of it. The clients the advisors that usually are the first ones to go get the coaches and the resources and kind of always look to better themselves, or the ones that are always successful. It's interesting to me, the old saying, good to great. The reality is a lot of advisors hire coaches not because they're in dire need of a change. They just want to improve their excellence. And the interesting part is the ones that want the breakthrough, the ones that really need the game changer, they won't do it. They're too cheap. They're too arrogant. Quick story. I was talking to an advisor a couple months ago, and we were having some great conversations. And he said to me, he goes, Joe, I'm just really cheap. I said, well, that's pretty obvious because you're 20 years in the business and you haven't cracked $500,000 of GDC yet. So guess what? You're absolutely correct. You are cheap. And this is why you are in the shape that you're in. You must invest back into your business. So look, I'm not going to toot the horn for whether it's me or not because, again, I'm not for everybody. But you've got to have second set eyes in your business. You've got to go to industry conferences. You've got to and you got to know what's out there. Hey, at minimum, take some technology courses. Figure out how to finally use Redtail or Salesforce or whatever your firm has, right? There are things like that. Some of you may need a personal trainer, quite frankly, more than you need anything else right now, or a nutritionist to get your health in shape. These are all elements of coaching, okay? Coaching to me is how do we make you better, bottom line. So there are a couple elements here that I really recommend to all my clients, and I'm going to recommend them to you here. First off, I always believe it's a great idea and something I do personally, have done so for years, and I really encourage all my clients to do this, is to set aside 5 to 10% of your income, and you can do that gross or net. I'll let you guys decide, what's going to be better for you. 5 to 10% of your income, and you budget that as what we call a PD, or personal development budget. In that budget, that's what you draw upon annually, weekly, quarterly to get your coach, go to training programs, gym memberships, massages, whatever else you need to do, personal trainer, nutritionist, whatever you need to. That is your budget to improve you. Why do we do this? Because first and foremost, you are the initial product people buy. The old saying, they buy the person before the product or service. It is still true and probably always will be true. So the better you are at you, the more money you're going to make in this business. Number two, every industry, and you can take a look at any industry, pharmaceuticals, manufacturing, technology, they all have something called R&D, research and development, right? So why? Because they want to improve their processes, improve their products, bring new products out to marketplace, right? But in other words, there's a line item that they reserve to invest back in excellence. Why are we any different? See, what a lot of you do is you sit there and say, well, my firm doesn't do this, or my broker-dealer doesn't give me that, or stuff like that. And what you do is you punt ownership of your own success. You punt it because it's not your fault, right? I'm a victim. It's amazing to me how many advisors operate that way. And look, this is not about how smart you are. This is not about your intellectual capital. This is about your emotional intelligence. Can you shift your belief set, your fears, the rules, all those things? That's the difference maker. Look, if you're 20, 30 years in the business, and I'm not saying everybody wants to be $1 million producer. That's not what I'm trying to get at here. But if you're sitting here and you're 20 years in the biz, and and the needle's not moving, your career, your business has flatlined, and it's been that way, or worse, it's slid back. And that's just the way it's been. I got a little clue. That's not going to change. It'll probably do anything, it'll get worse. Why do I say that? Because the industry is shifting, the industry is evolving. Actually, just this morning, I'm recording this on Friday, I was interviewed and you'll see it probably in April or May, for one of the major publications in our industry. And they were asking me about the future of the business. What do I think? And I'm pretty outspoken about this. And I know that, in our industry, what I've said is, look, you could be a pretty dysfunctional human being and make a good living in this business. Those days are numbered. The old, just like in all industries, there's Pareto's law, the law of 80-20. You're going to find, and I don't think in our industry yet it's quite there, but I can see where it's coming quickly. Either you're going to evolve, shift, change, and grow, or you're going to stay stagnant and erode away. That's it. There's no third option here. Now, some of you may not like that, and some of you I may have just pissed off, quite frankly. But you know what? It's my version of the truth, and that's what I believe. And I've believed that now for well over a decade, and guess what? So far, I've been right, just by what's going on. So you can be stagnant. My point to you is this: take 5 to 10% of your income, figure out where your gaps are. Do I have a health gap? Do I have a psychology gap? Do I have a system gap in terms of I have no morning ritual, no daily game plan? Do I lack accountability? And I just, you know what? As much as I hate it, look, nobody likes accountability in this business. I've been doing this too long. I know that. You don't like it, probably means you need it. So you got to figure that out, okay? So again, marker number 8, personal education and coaching. Last marker for today. Understand the principles of influence and the powerful meeting process. So here's the deal. You know, there are two worlds there have been two worlds in our space, if you will. I call it before '08 and after '08, okay? So before '08, what was that world like? Well, it was kind of greed-based. Nobody knew who Bernie Madoff really was. And so if you're sitting with a prospect and it just sounded pretty good, and everybody, remember, the markets were going up, everybody wanted to keep up with the Joneses, very greed-based, right? Things like that. If you just weren't an idiot, you would probably get them as a client, or at least part of their business, right? And then 2008, 2009 comes along, and it totally changes it to where now you have a fear-based scenario. People are leery. You know, certain firms went out of business. Certain people ended up in jail, right? All these things. And so now you just can't put a bunch of good ideas out there and say, here's what we're going to do, and they're going to sign on a dotted line. You have to understand the laws and principles of influence, human behavior, human psychology. You need to be armed, equipped, and ready for the objections, for the fears. Because let me ask you all this question. How does it make you feel when you're sitting with a prospect? I don't care if they came to a seminar, if they were referred to you by a client, if your CPA referred, it doesn't matter how they got in front of you. But here you are, this great couple. Man, they need your help. And you can help them. And yet you can't get the yes, and you're frustrated. And you sit there and say to myself, what's going on? Or they want to think about it. And you know what? You missed it. Now, I'm not saying you couldn't follow up, and maybe in a couple of months or in a year or so, you may still get them. But you know what? You were ill-equipped for the process. And that's why today, you know, we talk about, we hear a lot about consultative selling and storytelling selling and some of these other things. And what we're really saying here is you've got to change your meeting process from a deck presentation and then looking at their portfolio to a interview, a really deep, with a capital D, dive into their fears, their beliefs, their goals, what's important to them. You need to go in there and mix it up emotionally. And if that's not what you want to do, you know, you're probably okay for a couple of years in this business, or maybe you're into the rest of your career, depending how old you are, how long you're going to be in the business. But I'm telling you, there's a difference between selling and influencing. There's a difference than presenting than interviewing. And you have to understand that. You know, and again, hopefully you're all members of PracticePower who are watching this. Go into the selling center, sales training center. There's meeting mastery, 27 modules, probably 20 hours of meeting training. MAP, mastering the art of people. There's probably 20 hours of high-level influence training specifically for this industry. The bottom line is this. We are in the ultimate people business, and even me, which all I do is deal with people, advisors all day long, every day, I still always brush up on my influence skills, my questioning skills, my coaching skills, because you can never, ever be good enough. Okay? So, before we say goodbye, I know I went a little long today, we are coming quickly to the end of the first quarter. So a couple things I'd like you to consider. Number one, make sure you get some downtime. Make sure you sharpen the saw. Do not go in the second quarter, kind of gassed, burnt out from the first quarter. So March is one of those days. Grab a couple days, a week maybe. I'm going to be taking nearly two weeks, and just R&R strategic time, right? Number two, I will be releasing to my clients and to the PracticePower members a very simple, short, quarterly review process. It'll be a PDF. Carve out an hour or so, benchmark not just your results for the first quarter, but your behaviors, actions, activities. Let's really be very clear on what we got done. 25% of 2015 will now soon be in the books. So keep that in mind, okay? And I will see you all next week. Have a great one, and we are done. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.